Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. So first of all, we'd like to introduce ourselves. So my name is Tara Kapoor. I'm in the 10th grade at Head Start Educational Academy.
I'm Shiv Kapoor and I'm in the 12th grade at the same school. Before we tell you a little about our guest speaker, we would like to tell you a little about the Career Talk series.
So Shiv and I saw this lockdown as a great opportunity to not only expose us, but expose students not only in India, but around the world to a spectrum of careers. We hope to do so by bringing professionals from various domains to share their experiences and knowledge with us.
Today's speaker, Mrs. Rhea Bhandare, is a four-time Indian Junior National Squash Champion and is also the founder of Sports Excel, a sports management company.
She has a BA degree in the from the Ivy League University of Pennsylvania, USA, and has previously worked with some prominent establishments in the corporate world across management consulting, public relations, and retail.
She has represented India internationally since the age of 11, winning tournaments across Asia, Europe, and the USA. She has also represented India at the Asian Junior Squash Championship and the pre-Commonwealth Games. Her highest squash rank was third globally in the juniors category.
So today we're going to be interviewing Mrs. Rhea Bhandare about her squash journey, academic experience abroad, and also about her professional part of life. Before we begin, we would like to share a couple of housekeeping rules with you all. Firstly, kindly keep yourselves muted and keep your videos off throughout the session. Secondly, please do not draw or annotate when we or the speaker share screen. And lastly, please ask your questions in the chat box. We will use the second half of the call to address your questions by posing them to Mrs. Rhea Bhandare. Thank you.
So let's begin. Requesting you, Mrs. Rhea Bhandare, to turn on your video and mic.
Shiv, I think you need to put my video on. It says that you put it off.
You can turn it on yourself.
It says the host has stopped it.
Okay, just give me a second.
Yeah. Yeah, hi.
Hi.
Good. Thank you for having me here, Shiv and Tara. Always good to talk to you guys.
Yeah, we're happy to have you.
So let's dive right in.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so our first question is, could you please tell us how you got into squash and what are your experiences playing professionally at such a young age?
So, when growing up, I used to play a lot of different sports. My parents sort of exposed me and my brother to everything from swimming, tennis, table tennis, squash, the whole lot. And I remember my father, he was very keen on squash specifically because he was an avid player. And when I was about 10 years old, he sat me down and he said, you play all these sports and you're good at it, but why don't you focus on just one? And being 10, I immediately said no, I want to play all the sports. Why do I need to choose just one? And luckily for him, at that time, I had Satinder Pal Bajwa come down. He was a former coach and manager to Zansher Khan, who was the former world #1 in squash. So he came down to Bombay and he was coaching about 20 of us youngsters. We were selected to coach with him for a month at the Cricket Club of India during which is a big club in Bombay. And it was just the summer holidays and we had to train with him for 7 hours a day. And at the end of that month, I had such a great time, training with different kids. There were only 2 girls in the program and the rest were all boys, but he just made it a lot of fun for us. So my entire view of the game, changed. And after that, after that 1 month stint, when I decided, okay, this is it, I'm going to play this professionally or more seriously, he told my parents that she's got international talent and she needs to go abroad. She needs to start playing with other girls her age because she's going to do really well. So that's when my parents decided to send me to tournaments starting off in Asia. I think one of the first I played was the Hong Kong Open in the under 14 girls category. And I played it and I won it. So as soon as I won it, I knew that, okay, there's something there for me. And my parents immediately started taking me all over the world. So I played in Singapore, Malaysia, all over Europe, the Scottish Open, British Open, Hong Kong Open, Malaysia, everywhere. And I started winning a lot of the tournaments. So the experience was fantastic because, firstly, I had to grow up really fast. I was away from home for months on end when I was, 12 years old, 13 years old. I had to train and be away from my parents and take care of myself and, financially just work on, my parents gave me some money and I had to make sure I didn't blow it up and spend it wisely. And there were so many things to it, right? But just, meeting people from around the world was the best part of it because you learn about so many different cultures and just how everyone is so similar to you at the same time. And it was definitely also a humbling experience because coming from a school, I studied at the Cathedral School in Bombay, where kids came from a more privileged background. I had to represent the country with people that came from backgrounds, from all sorts of backgrounds, and also play, against people from all over. So it was a very humbling experience and one of the best years of my life for sure.
So regarding your experiences playing professionally, especially since you started at such a young age, what are some of the things that motivated you?
I think, the fact that, there were definitely times when I felt that, oh, why am I, playing so much and all the time? Because, for the longest period of time, I used to wake up at 5 in the morning before school, train for a few hours, go to school, and then after school again, train again, do homework and go to sleep. This was my life for most of my time in school. And there were times when I used to wait and be like, I want to be like other kids. But then I think the fact that I was having so much fun, the fact that I realized that, okay, I'm sort of lucky to be able to be at this position. And also, to be able to travel the world. I think these things really, excited me. But I think the main thing is that I was having a lot of fun and I was very happy. I think as soon as you are happy doing something and you're having fun doing it, it makes what you're doing a lot easier to do, right? So I think that's what really motivated me.
Would you say that it was really stressful, especially since you were so young and you were still in school and managing your academics, homework load, and going abroad, like all of it at the same time?
Um, it was definitely challenging, but I don't think it was stressful for me. I had really good friends in school who used to take down extra notes and send it across to me. And, I used to study while traveling and come back to my tournaments. I think the teachers made it easier for me. My principal made it easier for me, where I was allowed to go out for a long period of time, even in the ninth grade and the 10th grade. So I didn't have so much stress, on me. And most of the time, I was just having a good time playing. And, that's why they were probably one of the best years of my life.
So just building on that, what was your usual workout schedule, play schedule, and also studying?
So, like I said earlier, it was waking up at 5 in the morning, going for fitness training for a couple of hours, and then sort of finishing up at about 7:30 or so, and then going straight to school. After school, immediately go to play squash. I had training for maybe 4 hours. Then I have homework to do, and I think I was in bed by about 10 o'clock or so. So yeah, that was my life for a long time.
Okay, so now let's move to your college life abroad. So, what made you decide that abroad is the way to go? And could you share some of your experiences with us?
Yeah, sure. So my older brother, Nikhil, he's about 7, 8 years older to me. And when I was 12, 13 years old, he went to Yale University. And during that time, I think it's freshman year, my parents took me there. And when I saw him, when I visited him at Yale and I saw his life, I was immediately, I was blown away. I said, okay, this is what, I want to do. I want to go abroad. So this is, it was a no-brainer for me really, to go. And I think that, I mean, the college life is amazing because you can, study all types of subjects, as you know. And, when it was just something that I felt that, I wanted to play squash only till a certain point, and then I definitely, wanted to go.
So, our next question is about. So, I don't think you covered experiences there.
Yeah,
So,
sorry.
some of your
So in
experiences.
terms of in terms of my experiences, when I went, and firstly, so in terms of, choosing the college that I decided to go to, I first actually applied for early decision to Trinity College, which is, known for squash. And the reason I did that was because I was playing squash for India at a certain level, and Trinity had the best players from around the world there. So I applied their early decision, and then while I was there, essentially I felt that I wasn't, while it was great for squash, I felt I wasn't sort of challenged academically. So then I decided to transfer, and I got into Cornell and Penn. And when I got in, I actually got a 90% scholarship from both the places. And they both sort of wooed me in, both colleges got me to see the campus, experience college life for a weekend. I love both the places, but I decided to choose Penn only because, it's a city life, the experiences. I think the job opportunities after are immense. I think a lot of people on Wall Street and everywhere come to Wharton to recruit people more than I would say even Yale and Harvard. And I love the fact that there was a huge lot of kids from all around the world, a huge international population there. So it was so that's how I decided to choose Penn. And being there, again, fabulous years of my life. I played squash in college, and the exposure that we had. I mean, on a given day, you can imagine that there's so many different clubs at Penn, and they'd call different speakers. So somebody would call, the Queen of Jordan. Another organization there would call, CEO Goldman Sachs. There's so many different people coming in, and I had to choose, on one day at 6 p.m. who to go and see and hear. So that kind of exposure, I don't think you could get anywhere else, except in one of these big Ivy League universities. So that was phenomenal. And like I said, the job opportunities, and even I've made some of my best friends in college. So some of my closest friends today are in America, but even now I go back every few years to see them, and it's like nothing has changed. You know.
So, would you say that you were equally rigorous in your squash playing, etc., in college as you were as a child?
Well, it changes a lot, right? Because in especially at UPenn, which is an Ivy League, there's a huge emphasis on academics. So obviously we can play. We used to play for 4 hours a day, not 7 hours a day. But I mean, we had to balance it out. But there was definitely, more leeway for academics, and the fact that after that we wanted a career in something else, not just squash.
Okay, so now that we've covered your college years, like partially covered it, could you briefly walk us through your journey post-college?
Yeah, sure. So after college, I decided to get into management consulting. So I was with A.T. Kearney, which is an American management consulting firm. I was with them for about 3 years. Then I decided I want to do something completely different. So actually, I got into PR for a year, and then I joined the Future Group in retail for 3 years. After which I joined my father's business in eye care. And we have a chain of optical stores under the name of Bhandare Eye Care. And then I became an entrepreneur after that in sports management.
So just stepping back a little bit, why did you switch jobs so many times? Why the different interests over
Well,
time?
actually, it was spanned over about 10, 12 years. So I think, I mean, I loved management consulting. I think it gave me a lot of, business acumen, understanding the Indian job market, because I worked with A.T. Kearney in Mumbai. So that was great for me. But I was also figuring out my life and what I wanted to do. I was only 22 years old. So I felt like I needed to have a lot of work experience before I sort of figured out, what the end thing was going to be for me. So I'm so glad I did management consulting. It helped me understand businesses in India and how it's run, how to make profits in a company. PR helped me in terms of marketing, how to market a product. Retail helped me understand the retail industry, which even my family business is into. And I think that finally led me to be an entrepreneur. And I felt like this is the place where I really want to be.
Do you think college students in this day and age are gonna change paths more often? Like, do you think it's gonna happen more commonly?
Yeah, and I say why not? Because, something that you may want to do when you're 22 is not really where you're going to be at 35. And I think the idea of having different experiences is figuring out yourself, who you are as a person, what you want out of life, what you want to do. So I think, yeah, definitely. And there's so many more opportunities today than there were back then, when I graduated in 2006. So I see that happening a lot.
So you mentioned that you went into entrepreneurship in the end. So why did you move from being in a family business to wanting to do your own thing?
I feel that my family business is something that, I thoroughly respect. And I think I like being part of it. We've been in the optical industry for over 80 years with my grandfather and father, being in it. But I felt that my passion was really in sports. So, in 2017, I decided, let me try this out. I love squash, I love sports in general. Let me see where this takes me. So that's when I decided to start my company, Five Sports, where we focused on, sort of our vision was to provide more people with access to sports, to make people fitter and to produce champions. And with that, we sort of, focused on, squash tournaments at a national, international level, camps around the country, focus on squash, and being, having coaches or having squash academies anywhere where there was a squash court, really. So we sort of, I mean, that whole journey of doing this and being passionate about what I did was really exciting for me. So I decided when I got into it that I'm here to stay.
Could you please share your experiences starting your own business? And what are some of the difficulties you faced?
Sorry, can you repeat that question?
Can you share your experiences starting your own business and also share some of the difficulties you faced while setting it up?
So I think in terms of experience, I think it was amazing for me starting this in the sense that many doors opened for me because obviously coming from a squash background myself, a lot of people were willing to listen to me and hear me out, and I was able to get a lot of things in terms of doing tournaments. Yes, of course, I think a challenge was in getting sponsors on board. It's never easy. That was definitely a challenge. But again, people were willing to listen to me and have faith and give, sponsor a lot of our tournaments because of that. Um, and I think another challenge was really, I mean, while I was able to travel around India and have academies everywhere, it wasn't easy to get people to even go and start playing squash, because what I noticed was a lot of developers now in India are building squash courts in their residential complexes, and people that live there see the squash court, but they don't know really what squash is, or they haven't had that exposure. So to sort of convert these people to go out there and play was a bit of a challenge, but I think by the end of it, we were quite successful in getting a lot of people to start playing and helping grow the sport in India.
So building on that, what are some of the things you did in order to get the sponsors on board, other than the fact that you had the credibility?
I think it was just, we had these presentations that, we had to make. And it was really trying to tell them that, hey, you like sports is the future. And there are a lot of people, a lot of youngsters who want to get into it, and they're not able to, take this on as a career path later, because the parents feel that, there's not that much scope there. So we want to be able to give these kids like enough exposure in India and abroad to get a career. And there's so many kids I meet who want to be players. And I think a lot of people sort of were sold into that idea, and they said, hey, we want to be part of this. We want to see players from India in the international stage. We want to give youngsters this opportunity. So I think that really helped.
Now moving on, could you walk us through a few of the things a sports management company does, and what do you feel are some skills necessary?
So sports management really is a field of business and sports, right? So it could be anything. It could be like what we're doing right now. I went solo and started my own company, Sports Excel, last year. So we also do tournaments, like I was doing earlier, at an international, national level. Camps around India. We have a squash academy where we have the best coaches. And then we have another vertical, which is a corporate vertical, where we have health and wellness programs for employees of a corporate house. And then right now, we also have an online business that started. Um, so these are also sports. So this comes under sports management. Now, sports management will also be event management in sports. It could be, PR in sports. It could be like a lot of players today need endorsements, need sponsorships. So that could also be that. People in the television networks are, today there's so many other sports networks that are out there. So all of that really comprises, I would say, sports management. There are a lot of things academies have, sort of never ending. There are a lot of various businesses like that.
So in the recent years, have you observed an increasing number of sport-related businesses opening, especially with regard to India?
Yeah, definitely. I think the whole landscape has changed from what it was even 5 years ago. Academies in school, whether it's people focusing on different sports. I mean, look at IPL, right? I mean, look at the craze and the kind of money that goes into it as well. I see that, that there are a lot more firms coming up. And, I think every month I hear of a different company coming up in the sports. Sport is definitely the next big thing. And I think I have that first mover advantage of being there at the right time, because I think 10 years from now, there are going to be so many more companies out there.
So we've come to the last question of our interview session, which is, what would you recommend to students who are contemplating a career in sports management, and what experience do you suggest they get before they decide?
Sorry, can you repeat your first question again?
What would you recommend to students who are contemplating a career in sports management? And what are some of the things you would suggest to get the experience of it?
For example, internship.
Sorry?
For example, internships. What do you believe is something they can do to be more
Yeah. Sorry, I keep, my network keeps cutting off. Can you repeat your first question? Oh, yeah,
Um,
so to contemplating, right? Is that what I?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. So look, I think for everyone out there that if you're looking at a career in sports, it's a great place to be. There are a lot of things opening up. Sure, there's a pandemic right now, but it's affecting everybody. But otherwise, there's a lot of opportunity across, like I said, whether you do event management, you want academies, you want to do anything really to do with sports. And I think in terms of experience, it's like what I did. I got experience in marketing and business management and PR and so many different things. And that's how I'm able to run my company today. And I think run it successfully as well, because all that experience has come to play now. So I'm so glad, you asked me, why did you keep changing your job and or different through the years? It's because help me be the person I am today and run my business successfully. So, so yeah, so I would tell everyone that, hey, if you're looking at sports, now is the right time.
so what is some experiences that you would recommend students get before they decide?
Well, like I said, like what I did, whether it's something in management consulting, whether it's marketing, honestly, I think any type of job experience will help you to be a successful entrepreneur, because I think you need a bit of everything. You need a bit understanding of business, how that works. You need to be behind the operations side of things. So, it could be I did during my internships when I was in college, I did everything from private banking to advising, consulting. I did a whole mix of things. So, and I think all of that has helped me today.
Okay, so with that, we've come to the end of our interview. We'd like to thank you, Mrs. Bhandari. It's been great talking to you. But now we'd like to open up for the Q&A session. So we've already got a couple of questions that have come in. So we're going to start posing them to you. Just give us a second.
Do you want to read them out, or do you want me to?
Yeah, we're going to read them out one by one, and you can address them after that.
Yeah.
Okay. So our first one is from an aspiring tennis player who also wants to focus on his academics and is going to the 10th grade. So he wants some tips on how he can balance his academics and sports.
It's never easy. It really isn't. I would say that, you need to be able to multitask really well. I know it's a huge distraction when you have your tennis matches on and, things. You have to be disciplined about it, and you have to put so many hours a day into your academics and so many hours into playing, and you have to write a routine that you need to follow every single day and be disciplined about it. That's the only way that you'll be able to balance it out.
So there are multiple questions asked by the same person, so we'll just ask them together.
Yeah.
Have you ever considered going back to squash, and do you think we will have a league like the IPL for squash anytime soon?
Well, I'm too old, unfortunately, to get back to squash. I'm going to be 40 in a few years, so that's not going to happen. And in terms of a league as for IPL or something else, another sport?
So the question is a league like IPL for squash.
For squash. Well, a lot of people have been looking to do it, including myself. But I think we need to wait a few more years till the sport gets more popular. I think then it would make sense. But it's definitely been in the works, in the sense we've been thinking about it and we've been having our conversations. But I think it's something that we could do maybe in a 3-4 years time.
What, in your opinion, is the right age to start sport with a singular and big focus? If you like, you can zoom in on squash, but it's a more general.
I think, now I think people are starting a lot earlier. Like even in squash, we have under 9, which wasn't the case back when I was playing. It started under 14. So I think 7 or 8 actually is a good time to start and getting serious about a game. I started at 10, but I think now it would be 7 or 8, and across any sport really.
So, what sports do Sports Excel manage, and would you say that was the best way to go?
Sorry, I couldn't hear the last part.
What sports does Sports Excel manage, and would you say sport diversity is the best way to go?
So we focus primarily on squash, but right now, actually with the pandemic, we started an online business where we're looking at we tied up with professionals who are dancers, fitness trainers, and yoga and meditation experts, and we're doing these online classes, which have really picked up over the last 1 month. We're actually very excited about it, and I huge vertical, for us. In terms of diversity, I think it's up to you what you want to do. I wanted to focus on squash because no one else is really, so I want to be good at it and focus on it for a few more years, and then maybe see if I want to open into other sports. But it's not a bad thing to just focus on.
So it's common to see Indian parents not being open to their kids pursuing a career in sports. Would you have would you like to send out a message to those parents?
Yeah, kids fly. I think that let them do what they really want to do, and they'll figure it out. I think today there's a lot of scope in sports. It's a lucrative career. If not as a player, the management side of things, into the publicity side of things. I think you can only do well if your heart is in it and you're interested in it and you're happy doing it. So if your child has all of that, they will excel, you know. So that's my advice to parents.
Sports management is still in its infancy in India. Can you project forward growth of this field in the next 10 to 15 years? Where will this be?
I couldn't hear you.
So, as of now in India, sports is still in its infancy. What what do you project for in as the growth of the industry in the 10 to 15 years from today?
I think it's going to be exponential. Of course, we have to wait for the pandemic to get over, and whether it takes a year, 2 years, whatever it is. I think after that, it's going to be exponential. The sports industry, especially in India, like we have over 1 billion people. Everyone is now getting more and more interested in sports, right? So you can just imagine, especially now with the pandemic, more people want to be fit, want to be healthy. So people are going to go out and play more. So I think that, like I said, sports is the next big thing. It has a huge success as an industry in the future.
So the next question is from someone who wants to do an undergraduate program in sports management abroad, UK specifically. What experience would you suggest he gets before he starts college?
Do an internship in a sports company before you go do a course in sports management. I think that'll always be helpful. Nothing like, I think you learn the job, but I think if you're going to study something like sports management, I think, yeah, definitely having an experience before that will help you in excelling in your academic.
So why do you feel that, okay, not why do you feel, but why do you think India is behind countries like US and Australia in terms of sports management?
I think it starts I mean, America and Australia have sports right from as a huge emphasis right from the school level, and they've got universities and there's a lot more focus on sports over there, and it's part of the curriculum. You're graded on your sport, and that's part of your report card. In India, that's not so. So I feel because of that emphasis on sports abroad, and in starting right from the schools, colleges, all of that, but I think slowly, I think the government is now thinking about how to include sports in the curriculum and at the school level here, so that we'll be at par at them, at where they are, but it'll take some time.
What, in your opinion, is a very essential skill in order to be an entrepreneur?
I think there are a lot of things that you need to know. I think patience is key, and ambition. You've got to be very patient throughout and have that ambition to grow your company all the time, because you can sort of be disheartened along the way. So I think you've got to keep that ambition going, and you'll get there.
So the next question is squash specific, but we can generalize it. How has your experience been doing online squash programs and other programs during the pandemic?
But we basically yoga, mind management, we've got fitness, we've got dance, we've got all these different classes started online.
Sorry to interrupt you. Could you please repeat the answer? We lost you in the middle.
Hi, can you see me?
Yes, we can see you.
So I was saying we've started a whole lot of things. We started yoga, mind management, dance, fitness, and we're getting into a lot of different other things online. And we started off with just 5 people a month and a half ago, and today we have almost close to 50, if not more, people signing up for online. Be possibly a new vertical that we have that's going to do really well. So it's been doing amazingly well.
So we are done with questions. We'll just wait for a minute or two if any more come in.
Sure.
Okay, we have a few questions that have come in.
Yeah.
How did you get into squash has been answered. Motivation, that's also been answered. We'll just wait for a few more questions. Yeah, so do you feel India will reach a level of the US and other countries in terms of skill?
In terms of skill, as in for squash specifically, or does it?
So let's generalize it to sports.
Yeah, definitely. Look, not just, we've already got world champions coming out, right? Like even in squash, Joshna Chinnappa today is top 10 in the world. Saurav Ghoshal is also up there, and we've got a lot of other world champions. We've got Saina Nehwal and Sumni Sindhu and others that have made it to the global stage. So definitely, like I said, now there's going to be more emphasis on sports in India. So I see a lot more champions coming out.
Do you have any thoughts on how to increase the number of kids playing squash in India?
Do I have a sense of what?
Do you have any thoughts on how we can increase the number of kids playing squash in India?
Yeah, I think now, like I said, a lot of developers are building squash courts, right, all over the country in their residential complexes, commercial spaces, and things like that. So I think with having more tournaments, having more academies in different parts of the country, I think that is really going to help. As some of you all know, we started the Bangalore Squash Open. I did that last year, and that was the first national level tournament that Bangalore has had. And in one tournament alone, we had 100 new kids from Karnataka playing, So I think that's the way to go. Have more academies all over, more tournaments. This will definitely inspire a lot more kids to play.
So our next question is it possible to earn a living off sports management?
Yes, 100%. It's a lucrative, career to have. And like I said, if you have a bit of, patience and ambition to be an entrepreneur, it'll work for you. And even otherwise, in sports management, definitely. I know a lot of people in the business, and they're very happy being there. And it's a huge future for it.
What would you suggest to students who would like to pursue a career in sports as a player?
Um, Look, again, I think there's a lot of sponsorship coming in now, endorsements. People who are doing well are getting a lot of money coming in. So I'd say now is the time that you can give it a shot to be a player and see where that takes you. And don't be disheartened about not having worried about are you going to be financially independent or not. I think just give it a shot, and if you put in that hard work, it'll pay off.
What motivated you during your heydays as a champ?
I think I liked winning. I liked winning a lot, and I think just I really enjoyed doing what I was very happy, doing what I was doing. I had a lot of fun, so that really motivated me. I'm like, I want to do this every day because I really enjoy it, and I enjoyed winning.
So, I wouldn't like to say it's common to see this, but a lot of girls aren't that interested in playing sports. Why do you think that's the case? And also, would you like to send out a message to girls who aren't willing to give it a try?
I think that's a very Indian thing, though. I think that abroad, a lot of girls are into sports. I think a lot of girls are not, because that also comes into, I think the parents saying, okay, girls need to do ballet, girls need to do more girly things. But abroad, a lot of girls have an emphasis. I mean, a lot of girls play sports, but I think in India, that sort of, I wish there was a change in that. But I feel that now with seeing PV Sindhu and Saina Nehwal and all these girls doing really well in the international platform, I think it will inspire a lot of girls to to start getting into sports more. And I think a lot of parents need to encourage their kids to play.
So squash has been seen as a rich man's sport and most common in the metros. How do we give the people in the rural areas a chance?
How do we increase
Funding from the government? Sorry?
No, just adding on to his question, how do we increase their opportunities?
I think by getting more funding from the government and getting more private players to also sponsor and give money for sports infrastructure in rural areas and other parts, and that can only come. That's the only way, if we do have such squash courts, and there are certain places in India where it is there, and we've got a lot of people coming playing over there. I think that's the only way we can sort of get other, not a focus not only in the urban areas.
If you were to predict when India would move from being a sports watching country to a major sports playing and winning country, how far ahead, when do you see this happening?
10 years. Yeah, 10 years. 10 years post the pandemic, though.
So why are corporates not sponsoring and funding sports events other than cricket and now football?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
So a lot of the corporate sponsoring is limited to cricket and football. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's changing slowly but surely, because we are getting there. There is a lot of emphasis on other sports today as well, right? With tennis and badminton and them coming out, a lot of players coming out in the forefront. So I think that's it's going to change. I think people will start, so supporting other sports as well along the way.
What would you recommend to sports players in order to cope with stress and handle their mental?
Sorry, can you repeat that? Handle that. I didn't get your last line.
Handle their mental health.
Meditation, strongly recommended. I've been meditating for 12 years now, and I think that's the way to go, to have a calm mind, get clarity, handle all the stress. And I've been part of the art of living for all this while, and I can't tell you how much it's helped me in even being an entrepreneur.
So after a point when you're sure you want to get into the field of sports as a player, would you say a unifocal approach is better so that you can spend more time on court if it's squash or playing or practicing for any other sport?
Yeah, of course. I mean, you need to, if you've decided that you want to focus on one sport and be, for that to be your career in the long term, you need to focus on it. That being said, other forms of sports are also important. Like for squash, swimming is important. Playing other sports on the side also helps you, I think, a little bit. But yeah, for the most part, you need to have just your focus on one game. Otherwise, you never get very good at it.
So we'll just wait a minute or two in case questions come in. Otherwise, we will conclude the session.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that both Shiv and I really enjoyed talking to you, and I hope our attendees really enjoyed it too.
Yeah.
A couple minutes.
Yeah, thanks, Shiv and Tara. It's been a pleasure to be here.
So since no more questions have come in, I think we'll conclude today's session. So again, thank you, Mrs. Rhea Bhandare, and thank you all for joining us today. We will soon be updating you on our next speaker's profile and what she will be talking about.
Please join the group if you haven't already. All the logistics go on there, and just information about the speakers and like reminders and stuff like that. Thank you again. Good night.
Good night, all.
All right. Good night, guys.